In this episode of Voiding Warranties, I'll show you all the modifications I've already tried with the Blue Beast, including some that even worked! Voiding Warranties, a show where it's not really broken until I try to fix it. Originally, I had some pretty modest ambitions. I was playing with knock sensing. I was just looking at why the engine wasn't more fuel efficient. I then made several different versions of a knock sensor interface. I used audio gear to record and filter knock, and finally I'd made, well, kind of a knock light. I also dabbled a bit in things like lean burn and water injection, and I started to get some really interesting results. I saw the potential for both more power and more fuel economy out of a rotary engine, and the only way to make it all work together was going to be turbocharging. So I took everything I had learned and I started turbocharging my car, and it was a total failure. I tried piecing together my own rear mount turbo setup, and it never even got into boost. It was just a plumbing nightmare, oil lines to route everywhere, wires to the MAF in the back because water injection. It got to the point where I dreaded the idea of working on the project. It was just a mess. So I threw it out and I started over. By this time, I had a little bit more money to dedicate to it and a lot less time. So I went out and I bought a turbo kit. Now, turbo kits for this car are kind of misnomers. There's no kit you can just throw on your car and have great results with. Every one of them has to be tweaked and rebuilt, sometimes multiple times, to get good results. So I just skipped a step and I built it my way from the beginning. Here's the first version. It was made with flexible hose, exhaust pipe, PVC pipe, duct tape, epoxy, baling wire, and zip ties. It was pretty horrible, but it did work enough to get me into boost. Now, I've never actually used an intercooler with my turbo setup, and this is because I don't have to. The reason I can do this is because in the elbow in front of the turbocharger, I have a fuel injector that is running water. I'm using it as a water injector. Now, this injector is controlled by an Arduino, and it injects at a metered rate right into the throat of the turbo. The early version, I had a PVC elbow where the injector was actually inside the elbow, and now I've upgraded and I have an aluminum elbow with the injector bung on the outside. Inside the car, I had an Arduino controlling boost and water injection, and it was sensing knock to do it all. It worked well, it got into boost, it showed me what was possible, although I didn't trust the system much at all at that time. I did get a later version of this, which was a bit cleaner mounted in the dash, and I probably would have kept with this idea and kept playing with it until it worked, except I began playing with the CAN bus on the car. The controller area network is a network on the car that all the different modules use to communicate. Now, combining my new module with a phone app turned what was a sketchy project into something a little more prim and proper. No longer was I controlling boost set points with a knob on the dash, now I was using the touchscreen on my phone. And I could also log new information that was not originally available on the car's network. And it was all starting to get reliable. At least the electronic side of it was. The actual under-the-hood hardware was a little bit more sketchy. So I decided to fix that. I threw out all the PVC and duct tape and went with an aluminum intake. I had to do some fabrication on my own, but at this point it doesn't look that bad. Eventually I might either make a new version of this intake or pay somebody to make something for me. But right now I'm happy with what I've got. Also, there's another oddity under the hood that I haven't mentioned. I was having trouble finding a battery with the proper amount of cranking amps that would fit in the battery tray that came with the turbo kit, and there wasn't really room for a larger battery tray. So I went with the supercapacitor. Now, you've probably seen other videos that show people starting their cars with supercapacitors. I admit, this is not original, but the idea works, and it works great. At first I thought I was going to replace the battery with a supercapacitor and not have any problems, but it turns out the parasitic draw that the car has is high enough that over the weekend I won't be able to start the car, so I also put an auxiliary battery in the trunk. Since the auxiliary battery is not actually for starting the car, it's just to power auxiliaries and keep standby power, I've used a deep cycle battery and I'm very happy with that choice. Also, you'll see here my 4-inch PVC water reservoir. Now, I made this water reservoir because I was looking to have 3 to 4 gallons of water in the back, and I wanted my water reservoir to be accessible for easy filling. After I made it, I kind of regretted the decision. 4-inch PVC is not the easiest stuff to work with when you're trying to make it into a donut, and I'm just not happy with how it all turned out. I think I might go for a more conventional tank, like maybe the kind that you have for an outboard motor. Also, you'll see here I have my water injection pump. Now, this is a water methanol injection pump. I could run a water methanol mix, even though I'm just running water right now. And it also has a discharge pressure of about 150 psi, which is more than I really need. Downstream of this pump, I have a water hammer arrestor. Now, I recommend anybody running water injection, they either use a water hammer arrestor, which is just a mini accumulator, or like an accumulator you use for an RV water system, because this will keep your water pressure from surging as the pump cycles on and off. This pressure surge causes a flow surge, and you want to flow water at a specified amount at all times. Having it surge more and less is not what you want for water injection. I hope you've enjoyed this video and seeing what modifications I've made to my car already. I plan on showing more modifications, including what I'm currently working on, in future videos. Let me know you want to see more videos like this by subscribing. Also, let me know how much you like this video by clicking like. I can't wait to show you the new things I've accomplished on next week's episode of Voiding Warranties!